there, everybody. Thank you for watching. As always, I really do appreciate it. As I mentioned in the last episode that I did with my two grandnephews, hi Jack, hi Cam, if you're watching, I hinted that this next episode, again, following the theme I've been on in the last few videos where I'm focusing on potential holiday gifts, I mentioned that in this next episode, I'd be making a serving tray, a party tray. And that is what this episode is about. In this video, I'm going to make this. Okay, so here's the story on this. I don't know where you all are watching from, but in the States, we have this store called HomeGoods. It's basically a store that buys items that have been basically fire sold from stores that went out of business, bankrupt, closed, whatever. And even if you're in a different country, perhaps you have a similar store in your area. And the idea behind this is that, I know we're all familiar with party trays or serving trays, but the idea behind this is that, I went out to HomeGoods and just picked up 4 random dishes, with the point being that you could buy anything to go on such a tray, and as few and as many as you want, without being limited to what you might find already on the market for this type of thing. So for this episode, what I'm going to do is just go through the process for making this. Basically, what's involved is I make a pattern out of some Baltic birch based on however I want to lay these things out. I'm going to then make this end grain butcher block cutting board out of some scrap cherry that I have. And I will use a bowl or tray cutting bit on my router to kind of cut out these recessed areas for the dishes. So with that, let's get into it. Okay, so here's a piece of 1/4" MDF, 1/4" Baltic birch plywood that I'm going to use to make a pattern that I'll place on top of the little cutting board I'm going to make, so I can use the bowl cutting bit on my router to cut spots that'll be recessed to hold these different little, bowls or whatever you want to call them that I purchased at HomeGoods. So first thing I'm going to do now is just trace out the bottoms, place them where I want them on this board. I think I kind of want like a little arc here. And now I'm just going to trace out the bottom. All right. So now, based on the target width of this pattern, which is about a little over 14 inches, I've gone ahead and cut up some cherry I'm going to use to make an end grain butcher block that'll be used for this serving tray. So next thing I'm going to do now is go ahead and glue this up. Let's start gluing it up. All right, I'm going to go ahead now and let this dry overnight and then continue tomorrow. I'll be cutting these up into strips. I'm going to go cut them up into probably 2-inch strips, rotate them, and glue it back together to make the end grain cutting board. So that will be tomorrow. All right, this is dried overnight. Start unclamping it. Seeing what we got. run this through the belt sander, smooth it up a little bit. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this now into about 2-inch strips. So I can glue it back up again. overnight. All right, this set overnight, so let's see what it looks like. Try to get some of this glue buildup off before feeding it through my belt sander. And now I'm just going to put a straight edge on this board so I can finish squaring it off. Okay, so I've gone ahead now and used the butcher block cutting board that I just finished making to finish off measuring the size of the pattern for this 1/4 inch Baltic birch I'm going to use to hold the dishes. or to help me shape the cutouts for the dishes in the butcher block. So what I'm going to do now is I've gone ahead and used just a brad tip bit on my hand drill to cut out some starter holes. I'm going to use my jigsaw now to do a rough cut for these shapes and then smooth them out with some hand files and sandpaper before I go ahead and go to routing. So let's do it. All right, so I have finished routing out all of the areas here for the dishes and had a change in plans after getting a second opinion. So you'll notice all these little squiggly lines and whatnot. The original plan was for me to, I made those using French curves. I was just kind of wanted to add somewhat of an interesting profile for the serving tray. But anyway, the second opinion was to not do that. And instead, keep it basically like a regular cutting board, which is a great idea, so that we could just flip it over, since we're going to keep this, and use it as a big cutting board or a board for charcuterie or whatever. So what I'm going to do, though, since I did not plan for that originally and drill these holes, I'm just going to cut off the corners at a 45, which leaves still plenty of surface space. Actually, it's like this. And just round over the edges. Perhaps put a little groove on the side to help to hold it. And that'll be that. So we're close to done. And now I'm going to do a ton of sanding before I put some oil on it to finish up. I'm going to start with 80 grit and work my way up. right, that does it for me for today. I hope you found this useful. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. That's very helpful. And of course, if you have any questions or comments about anything that you saw in this video, put those in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer as quickly as possible. And if you've not done so already, please subscribe to my channel so you can get notifications of future content. And with that, bye for now.